Hey, good evening, folks. It's 7 o'clock, so we will officially call to order. Sego Ani Buju Endio Wacheya Kwekwe. As the mayor of the city of Kingston, I offer these words in the spirit of this gathering. Let us bring our good minds and hearts together as one to honor and celebrate these traditional lands, the gathering place of the original peoples and their ancestors who are entrusted to care for Mother Earth since time immemorial. It is with deep humility that we acknowledge and offer our gratitude for their contributions to this community, having respect for all as we share the space now and walk side by side into the future. So with that as an official call to order, Madam Deputy Clerk, do we have a quorum?
Yes, Mayor Patterson, we have quorum. Yes, apologies. Just to confirm attendance tonight, we have all members of council present at this time, with the exception of Councillor Boehm and Councillor Chappelle, Councillor Neal, and Councillor Stroud. And from staff, we have Chief Administrative Officer Lanny Hurdle, Paige Agnew, Commissioner of Community Services, Craig Desjardins, Acting Commissioner of Corporate Services, Peter Hugenboss, Commissioner of Business, Environment and Projects, Brad Joyce, Commissioner of Transportation and Public Works, Desiree Kennedy, CFO and City Treasurer, John Bolagnone, City Clerk, Jennifer Campbell, Director, Heritage Services, Luke Falwell, Director, Engineering, Brandon Forrest, Director, Business, Real Estate and Environment, Jenna Morley, Director, Legal Services and City Solicitor, Tim Park, Director of Planning Services, Janet James, Deputy City Clerk, Jeff Rempel, Manager, Facilities and Construction Services, Jeffrey Walker, Manager, Taxation and Revenue. Excuse me, Ian Sullivan is our meeting host tonight, and Chris Sabrin is here to provide technical support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have nothing under committee of the whole closed meeting. For the addeds, we have two sets of addeds which we'll approve together. The first added is an added report from the CAO. And then the second added has a new motion that's time sensitive. Can I have a mover and a seconder for the addeds, please? Moved by Councillor Osterhoff, seconded by Councillor McLaren. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Okay, moving on. Are there any disclosures of potential pecuniary interest? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. We have no presentations this evening. We have no delegations. We have no briefings. Are there any petitions to present? Okay, seeing no petitions, we have no motions of congratulation, recognition, sympathy, or condolence, or speedy recovery. So we will move right to deferred motions. We have one deferred motion. It is moved by Councillor Neal, seconded by Councillor Osanek, and that motion is to appoint a councillor to Tourism Kingston. Oh, that's true. So Councillor Neal isn't here. So would somebody else volunteer to move this motion? Moved by Councillor Holland, thank you. So moved by Councillor Holland, second by Councillor Osanek, to appoint a councillor to the Tourism Kingston Board. Do I have a volunteer? Councillor Hill, thank you very much. If there are no other volunteers, we will consider you acclaimed, Councillor Hill. And with that, then we will call the vote on deferred motion number one. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Okay, moving on to reports. First up, we have report number 12 from the CAO.
Moved by Councillor Holland, seconded by Councillor Osanek, that report number 12 from the Chief Administrative Officer consent be received and adopted.
So there are three clauses. Would anyone like any of those clauses separated? If not, then we will vote on all the clauses together. So clause one, so renewal of the service level agreement between the City of Kingston and the Kingston Association of Museums, Art Galleries, and Historic Sites. Clause number two, award of contract, City Hall chillers, air handling units, and control installation. Clause number three, award of contract, surface treatment, various locations. We'll call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Okay, next we have report number 13 from the CAO.
Moved by Councillor Hutchison, seconded by Councillor Chappelle, that report number 13 from the Chief Administrative Officer recommend be received and adopted clause by clause.
Okay, so the first clause is 2022 interim tax levy, just noting the change to Schedule A as passed in the addendum. Is there any discussion? Okay, we will call the vote on clause 1. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. And number 2, 2022 municipal borrowing bylaw. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Number 3, municipal capital facility agreement bylaw 218 Concession Street. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Okay, on to report number 14 from Planning Committee.
Moved by Councillor Kiley, seconded by Councillor Osanek, that report number 14 from the Planning Committee be received and adopted.
Okay, there's just the one clause, approval of application for zoning bylaw amendment 596 Macdonell Street. All those in favor? Opposed? Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Holland, I missed your hand, so you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor Patterson. Sorry, I was also probably not very organized there. This came to planning in December. I've provided, it would be very helpful. I know I'm not sure if it's ready yet, but I did provide the clerks with a slide, which I think might be a good visual reference, if it is available. Great, thank you. Okay, so the application is seeking to approve the a change in zoning from an A5 to an A5.617, I believe. And in essence, the change is to the change in zoning is to allow for multiple family dwellings within one unit. So meaning more than one household, which in essence is bringing us into apartment style dwellings. So for those of you who are not familiar, I mean, most of you probably are, the Kings Court area is known for its wartime housing. The A5 zoning is, residential zoning is for 2.5 stories. And so the top figure, which is a new development, it's part of the former First Ave school site development. It's a 2.5 story. It's consistent with the zoning for residential. This is an example, you may recall, there's a tertiary suite here. If you go to the back of the building, there is a garage with a loft unit above. So that zoning was approved. That's a multiple family. There was an amendment for that reason. You'll note that it still looks like a single family dwelling. A great deal of effort has gone into that aspect to maintain the consistency of the single family development in the area. So what this application is looking for, and just to summarize, because many of you probably wouldn't have been following this. So you'll see in figure B, this is 596 Macdonell Street. The frontage, the front building that looks like a separate building, there was an addition that was put onto that back. You'll see where the little balcony things are jutting out on figure B. So that 3-story addition was non-conforming, and the applicant put that addition on prior to approval. So what is being asked for and what was approved at planning, although there were some votes against, it was to take that non-conforming style essentially and have it become adopted as a zoning bylaw amendment, which is in figure C. So this approval, so that this has been built, there was an order to cease construction because it was non-conforming. And currently the applicant doesn't have a building permit. So this zoning application, the zoning bylaw amendment is in order, is part of that process, which would then allow the applicant to go back into developing this addition, which you can sort of get a sense of from figure B, but you'll also see in figure C. I put figure A in as a comparison because when at planning in December, when this came forward, what we heard was that, of course, intensification is a priority for the city. But when we're talking about what that looks like in a single family dwelling, predominantly single family dwelling neighborhood, where there's an A5 zoning that's in place, and where that figure A received a zoning bylaw amendment in part or mainly due to the fact that the proposal was, again, conforming to the neighborhood. So there's a laneway garage, which is very consistent with the Kings Court neighborhood, with a suite over top of that garage. So then you see in figure B what we have proposed here, what this proposal is all about. And I think really what it comes down to is the fact that the applicant has gone ahead and done the work, first of all, in a non-conforming manner. At planning committee, there's a lot of discussion about the fact that this is problematic and precedent setting in ways that many found uncomfortable. So I'm bringing your attention tonight. Thank you. And I just have one question for staff, which is at planning committee, we talked about the building permit. So if you could give any updates on the building permit, that would be great.
Mr. Parker.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Mayor. The building permit is still being held until this report is considered by council. If it is approved by council, then the zoning bylaw would be enacted. There would be an appeal period of 20 days. And if there are no appeals to the zoning bylaw, after that period has expired, the building permit could be released for the rest of the development. Thank you.
So I know it's difficult to vote against something the planning committee has approved, but I'm asking you to reconsider this vote. Thank you.
Very much. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak? Okay, we will call the vote then. All those in favor? Opposed? Carries by a vote of 5 to 4. Councillor Osanek, Councillor Chappell. You voted against? Okay, sorry, so 5 and 5. Loses on a tie. So Councillor Osanek, so the minority, well, it's 5. So 5 and 5. So in favor were myself, Councillor Hill, Councillor Osterhoff, Councillor Kiley, Councillor Hutchison. Opposed, Councillor Osanek, Councillor Doherty, Councillor Holland, Councillor McLaren, and Councillor Chappell. So that loses on a tie. Just give me one moment, please. Okay, so it doesn't have to be right now, Councillor Holland, but we will need as council to consider a motion detailing the reasons for not approving the zoning bylaw amendment. So if you would like to bring that forward at the next council meeting, for example, then that would be okay. All right, so with that, then we'll move to report number 15 from Heritage Kingston.
Moved by Councillor Doherty, seconded by Councillor Osterhoff, that report number 15 from Heritage Kingston be received and adopted.
Would anyone like any of them dealt with separately? If not, then we will vote on the whole of report number 15 as a whole. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Okay, report number 16 from the Rural Advisory Committee.
moved by Councillor Chappell, seconded by Councillor McLaren, that report number 16 from the Rural Advisory Committee be received and adopted.
There is the one motion, Community Futures Development Corporation boundaries. Any discussion? Councillor Hutchison.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of pro forma questions. And that is, does Frontenac County know about and support the request to have their Community Futures Development Corporation boundaries changed?
Mr. Deschanel.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to the councillor. Yes, we have been working with the Frontenac CFDC with regard to these boundary changes, and they are supportive.
Okay, and city staff supports this as well, I presume?
That is correct, yes.
And I take it that the local council support it, otherwise we'd be hearing about it.
Yes.
That was the signal to hear about it if they needs to. Okay, I'm fine, thanks.
Okay. Not seeing any of their hands, so we will call the vote. And all those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Okay. Report number 17 from the Integrity Commission.
Moved by Councillor Hill, seconded by Councillor Holland, that report number 17 from the Integrity Commissioner be received.
Okay, there is the one clause suspension of investigation. Oh. So the clerks were just noting that it is an information report, and so no vote is required. Okay, we have nothing from Committee of the Whole. We have no information reports. We have no information reports from members of council. We have no miscellaneous business. So we will move to our one new motion. Moved by Councillor Hutchison, seconded by Councillor McLaren. Whereas the second Ontario Land Tribunal decision with respect to the proposed 19 to 20-story tower at 5157 Queen Street and the proposed 23-story at 18 Queen Street to Ontario Street has been appealed to the Divisional Court. Whereas the appealing party filed the arguments for the leave to appeal motion on December 21st, 2021. Whereas the other parties, Homestead Land Holdings Limited and the City of Kingston, must file a response by January 21st, 2022. Whereas the city does not need to participate in the motion for leave to appeal, including by filing a response for the case to be heard. Therefore, we resolve that the city not participate in the motion for leave to appeal. Councillor Hutchison, you have the floor.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. The first thing to remember is this is an interim step in this process. It's asking the court for leave to appeal to the Divisional Court. So it's not actually a decision of any sort. It's a legal question. And in that regard, this is essentially Homestead's issue. It's connected to their development. There's really no need for the city to be present. We have elected not to attend these things before. It saves a considerable amount of money. And I think those are the basic arguments for this underlying this motion. And I ask council to support it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak? Councillor Hill.
Thank you, Your Worship. And I'm not necessarily opposed to this motion. I know that in the past, I think Councillor Doherty, in the past spoke to the fact that sometimes it's, you know, we're loath to get in the middle of a citizen versus sort of the citizen debate. But I just don't want to, at least for my part, convey an impression that by doing this, we don't support you know, this project, because I think it's an important one for housing in the downtown, and so I'll support it on the basis that I believe, and this would be a question for our solicitor would, that despite the fact that we're not involved, presumably if need be, city staff could be called as witnesses in this kind of proceeding. Is that right?
Ms. Morley.
Through you, your worship, that's certainly possible. It's unlikely, but it is possible. Yes.
So is there, would there be a particular reason why the city would want to be involved in this at this juncture?
Through you, your worship, the city is not legally required to submit a response to the notice of motion. The question that's before the divisional court is whether the tribunal made errors of law in its decision. If the city doesn't participate, they will certainly have materials from both the appellants as well as the developer on this matter.
Okay, thank you. And so for my part, if we're saving the city a nickel, that's probably a good thing at the end of the day. But like I said, I just hope it doesn't convey a lack of support on the part of council. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, we will call the vote then on new motion number 1. All those in favor? Opposed? And that carried. Okay, so we have no other new motions. Are there any notices of motion? Okay. I will, Madam Deputy Clerk, I will ask for minutes, please.
Moved by Councillor Osanek, seconded by Councillor Doherty, that the minutes of City Council meeting number 2-2022 held Tuesday, December 21st, 2021 be confirmed.
All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. We have some tabling of documents, number of communications. Is there any other business? Deputy Clerk, I will ask for bylaws, please.
Thank you. Just wanting to point out that bylaw 4 has been withdrawn with the loss of the item from Planning Committee. First bylaw vote moved by Councillor Hutchison, seconded by Councillor Kiley, that bylaws 1 through 3 and 13 be given their first and second reading.
All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried.
Moved by Councillor Hutchison, seconded by Councillor Kiley, that clause 12.63 of bylaw number 2021-41 be suspended for the purpose of giving bylaws 2 and 3 free readings.
All those in favor? Opposed? And that's
And lastly, moved by Councillor Hutchison, seconded by Councillor Kiley, that bylaws 2, 3, and 5 through 13 be given their third reading.
all those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. 7:23. It's a new year, folks, 2022. This year, we're going to have much shorter council meetings than we've ever had before. So way to go, getting off to a great start, everybody. With that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn, please. Moved by Councilor McLaren, seconded by Councilor Hutchison. All those in favor? Opposed? Adjourn. Thanks very much, everybody.